Coming up today on Western Sports Roundup, we will continue our coverage of the EHV-1 outbreak. We'll tell you what's happening, what's been canceled, and what's been postponed. All that and more coming up on Western Sports Roundup. A happy Thursday, everybody, from a very rainy Fort Worth, Texas. I'm Steve Kenyon alongside Elise Sutherland, and we welcome you to Western Sports Roundup as we continue in our top story again today, looking at what's been happening in relation to the equine herpes virus, as some events have been canceled, some have been postponed, and we get to talk about, sadly, but we get to at least inform our viewers about all of that.
I like that you say we do get to inform, and it is an unfortunate thing, but everyone seems to be very proactive. At least 18 equestrian events in North Texas and beyond have canceled or postponed due to this spread, including right here in our own backyard. Visit Fort Worth and the Fort Worth Stockyards, which manages the Cowtown Herd, the twice daily cattle drive, East Exchange Avenue. For tourists, this will pause until the Friday, November 28th after Thanksgiving, as well as some other events that we have here as well, like the rodeo. Yeah,
the rodeo, of course, is a fixture every single weekend at Cowtown Coliseum. Rodeo is still going to happen. A Western event is still going to happen at Cowtown Coliseum, but they are basically eliminating equestrian opportunities. The Fort Worth Cattle Drive will no longer be taking place for the next week. They will resume on Friday, November 28th, the Friday after Thanksgiving. The rodeo at Cowtown Coliseum, they're eliminating basically the horses, turning it into a bull riding along with other events. Tonight, they will have the PBR Stockyard Showcase as they do every Thursday. They're doing the same thing in Inverness, Florida at the Citrus Stampede. They're just having a bull riding. It's a 29-year-old rodeo that is very involved in funding youth activities. They will continue tomorrow night and Saturday night with just bull riding. Pants on Fire Barrel Race in California canceled. The Holiday Bash in Alabama canceled, and the Train Station Classic Shootout Barrel Race in Castle Rock, Colorado have all been either canceled or postponed at this point.
And we do have to say that this is impressive to see the entire community coming together to do what we can with these events happening so closely, those barrel races from Florida all the way out to Colorado and beyond. People are doing what they can for these events and for the equine community. But those are the events that are canceled. Some of them have continued to be postponed as well, but are monitoring the situation again for the health of our animal athletes as well.
And let's talk about some of those events. This is from the National Reining Horse Association, the NRHA, big event going on right now. They say at this time there is no indication of increased risk to the 2025 NRHA Futurity and Adequan North American Championships. Our staff moves into the OKC Fair Park on Thursday.
In addition, NRHA has a proven and effective biosecurity protocol in place at all major events. We've gone on to say, and we are prepared to implement any enhanced measures if advised by the state veterinarians. That is just exactly what the NRHA is doing right now, among other associations, like we keep saying, to protect our animal athletes and us as well, so we can continue.
And of course, National Finals Rodeo right around the corner. You take a look at this from Visit Oklahoma City, the NRHA Futurity and Adequan event taking place all the way through December the 6th, starting on Monday in Oklahoma City at the fairgrounds there. And that will continue. And all of these organizations, Elise, if you look at everything that they have said, everything they've posted, they are all indicating they are working very closely with veterinarians. The Area World Series of Team Roping going to bring a lot of horses to Las Vegas December 5th through the 14th. That will take place at the South Point Hotel and Casino.
A lot of money to be offered out there and a lot of horses, like you said, but they will also be continuing to take measures. Again, you can also keep look out for updates from these different associations. World Series of Team Roping has been keeping people updated. Make sure that you know what the protocols will be to get your horses in and out of Nevada from all across the country. The all-in barrel race will continue as planned right there in Las Vegas as well. That's just another one that they do at this time. Again, this is a continuing to work on being scheduled. And again, as of today, they're still on.
You brought up a good point. There are protocols being put into place for various checks. I would check whichever state you're coming from, what the current status is in Nevada. That is liable to change between now and the time that we get there. One of the events that has been rescheduled, the Kimes Ranch $1 Million Breakaway Roping and Rising Stars event that Chris Neal puts on, that is also being moved. So the people who are the forces behind the Kimes Ranch $1 Million Breakaway joining us, Chris Neal and Amanda Kimes, both of you, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your cooperation. Thank you for your help. Amanda, I know that the last couple of days have been very, very hectic. Talk about the decision and the process that went into changing the dates of your event in Scottsdale from Thanksgiving weekend to starting right after the National Finals Rodeo is over on December the 15th.
Yes, I think the entire horse community can all agree it's been a very stressful time, and everyone is just trying to make the best decision they can in the moment. For us, you know, Chris Neal Events and Kimes Ranch, the decision was a no-brainer. The decision to keep the horses healthy and to be the advocates for our horses was first and foremost. So the decision to move the event was very simple. What we had to deal with was the logistics of timing based on quarantine suggestions and guidelines from other state veterinarians and dealing with the Arizona state veterinarian and making sure that we could get dates available at Westworld of Scottsdale, who has been great to work with and accommodating to move our dates to the 15th to the 21st of December, which you can find on our milliondolarbreakaway.com website. But the decision was very simple for us in regards to keeping our horses safe and our athletes safe and doing what's right by the contestants.
So for these contestants, what are those guidelines going to be for them to be able to move forward, get their horses there safely, and keep everyone healthy?
So there's so many moving parts with this, right? You know, you've got the girls in Texas, which are under a quarantine based on events that we all know that they were at, and that's been taken care of. And they're under quarantine until the 2nd of December. And this gives us time to let the virus do its thing, really, and give everyone 2 weeks to make sure their horses are not showing signs of temperature, nasal discharge, all of the things that you're seeing go around based on veterinarian recommendations. And so we feel confident that if we monitor the situation ourselves and make sure that the outbreak doesn't get any worse, that it starts to contain itself, that our event will be much better and much safer for everyone December 15th. There are several events still going on that we all know about during that time that we will monitor very closely. Now, there's a lot going on with the 2-week quarantine that we see people on right now that started November 18th and making sure that that doesn't get any worse, and then the events that take place immediately thereafter. So it's a moving wheel for sure that we're watching, and I know that everyone else is watching as well.
Yeah, both of you are shooting at moving targets right now. There's no question about that. Chris, talk about your conversations with contestants, with your ropers, with the folks that are supposed to come to your Rising Stars event. What are you hearing from them, and what is the feedback you're providing to them?
Yeah, Steve. So both the youth, the Rising Stars, talking to some of the parents, and then also the $1 Million Breakaway girls. There's several of those girls that had horses at the WPRA finals a couple of weeks ago. Like Amanda said, that they are quarantined in the state of Texas till December the 2nd. That has officially been put out there. And so we were going to, we were going to lose a lot of those girls to be able to be at the $1 Million Breakaway, which they were looking forward to. And so we're trying to do what's best for the contestants and accommodate them to be able to come to Scottsdale and experience this event. And then, of course, for our equine athletes, and do the best by the horse. And like Amanda said, it gives us this 2-week time period to let things kind of play out and settle down and see where it goes. And all of us are hoping for the best. It's a tough time for everyone in our industry. This time of year, there's so many large events and so many people that are banking on this time, from contestants, fans, us as producers. It's tough for the whole industry. And so we're just trying to do right by everyone and do the best we can to make this happen. And we're by no way are we canceling. I don't like that word at all, but we are rescheduling in everyone's best interest is our goal here.
And that's an exciting thing to hear because you guys really are putting everyone's best interests at the front foremost as well. Westworld working with this arena, how has that been for you guys as far as coordinating? Because you had to be so strategic with the dates, making sure you were following all the guidelines and the necessary actions that needed taken. But how much has it brought some positivity to realize just how great all of these people have been able to truly come together here in the last 24 hours?
I mean, it really is remarkable. The horse community, as we know, is one of the best as far as everyone does everything they can to help everyone. We called Westworld immediately. The news broke to us late Tuesday evening, and I think the rest, most of the horse community was up all night trying to understand everything. So by Wednesday morning, we had all gathered. Chris was actually in Arizona, and we were on the phone with Westworld. There are other events scheduled on top of our event, meaning like there was another arena taking place on the backside. That's still a moving target as well. So Westworld was able to accommodate us by moving other events to different arenas, so it doesn't affect us at all. Now, some events might be adjusting their own dates. So there, again, it's a lot of moving parts, but Westworld was really great to just say, yes, let's go ahead and get this done. Let's get you moved in. Let's get everything working for you.
I'll get both of you to respond to something we just saw on the screen, and it's a quote. "We understand the anticipation surrounding these events and sharing the disappointment of our competitors and fans. However, protecting the well-being of our equine partners comes first. We remain committed to delivering exceptional events once it is responsible to do so." And I'm not sure which one of you wants to take this, but to me, once it is responsible to do so, those are the major words in that comment that I just shared.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know that Chris and I share the same sentiment, and our entire team as well, that, these horses can't advocate for themselves, and it's up to us as horsemen to advocate for them. And I think that's the most important message we want to convey.
When it comes down to the contestants, Chris, I know you guys have both had the opportunity to chat with quite a few of them. How are they handling this, knowing the dates that were needed to be moved and everything? What are those conversations sounding like from these ladies that they're putting their horses in the middle of all of this?
There's a lot of mixed emotions, I think, on every side. I mean, everybody's a little bit uneasy and freaked out about what's going on. Social media is a blessing and a curse. All of us rely on it so much these days to get information out about these events, but then there's some negative that can come from it too, and sometimes things go maybe not in a positive way and get blown out of proportion the other way. So I think there's a lot. Everyone's just going to have to listen to their state veterinarians and use their own peace of mind and their own judgment on what decisions they make. And I think for the most part, all these girls and these contestants and these youth parents are gonna do that. And I think what the response we've been getting, everyone is very, very appreciative of the route that we have decided to go and understand what we're trying to do and accomplish.
So I just want everybody to understand, Chris is joining us from an airport and went way out of his way to be able to share a few minutes with us in this conversation. And Chris, I really, really appreciate it. I actually think maybe, speaking of blessings and curses, there's a delayed flight that allowed him to join us at all. So we thank you for that, Chris. Amanda, I know how much this has got to be a learning experience for all of us. We all woke up blessedly Monday morning not knowing anything about this scenario, and now all of a sudden here we are on Thursday having to reschedule these major events. We will stay in touch, and I appreciate both of you spending your time with us very, very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Amanda. Chris, thank you. Travel safe.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you, guys.
Chris Neal and Amanda Kimes joining us on Western Sports Roundup. Coming up, 40 years ago, Joe Beaver was not just a world champion, he was a Rookie of the Year in the first year of the National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas. We'll backtrack coming up.
We will also talk about some barrel racers that not only know the road to the NFR, they know the road to world titles. Our road to the NFR featuring some world champion barrel racers. We're going to talk all about them, their horsepower, and their chances of walking away with a 2025 world title coming up on Western Sports Roundup.
Western Sports Roundup brought to you by Resistol, the official hat of cowboys everywhere. We live it every day. Western Sports Roundup brought to you by Valley Vet.
So this year, 2025, is the 40th anniversary of the National Finals Rodeo moving from Oklahoma City to Las Vegas. Think about how much has changed over 40 years in Las Vegas during the NFR. Let's take a little backtrack and talk about 40 years ago as we share this highlight with you. That young fella's Joe Beaver. In 1985, he was the Resistol Rookie of the Year, and he was the world champion. That's the way that it looked in 1985 as Joe B took the first of his 22 trips to the National Finals Rodeo. Joe Beaver, now part of our broadcast crew on the Cowboy Channel, but back then, here's what he had to say about winning that title.
You've been injured from the first one, and you were pressured by great calf ropers that stepped out of the pack to become world champions. How did you feel like you could do that?
I felt real lucky. Had some good calves this week, roped good, and the Justin Healers, thanks to them, they kept me together. So I had a good year and a lucky week. I just feel real glad.
So there you see the difference. Joe B ahead of Roy Cooper in the number 2 spot. The Super Looper, the number 2 man in the year when we started building the house that Joe built in Las Vegas. Oh, look who showed up. Joe Beaver's here. Did you recognize that kid you were just looking at on the screen?
No, that guy right there looks like he should have rested a little more and took care of himself a little better, but here we are what we are nowadays.
We ask so many of these kids during their Resistol Rookie of the Year at the end. By the time they get to the end, they win that title, that coveted buckle and award. What would you have done if you had known the things that you know now as you started that rookie year? Do you remember what it was like? Because so many things were changing. At that point, you knew you were headed to Las Vegas, not Oklahoma City. These guys that you looked up to for so many years prior, now the game had completely changed. Do you remember what your thoughts were going into that rookie year?
Yeah, you know, first of all, I was, like I said in some interviews, I was too dumb to know any better. You know, I just roped for money, and I roped because I love to rope. I actually probably never would have got my PRCA card, but an amateur association had rules that I didn't follow very well. So I filled my permit, and all of a sudden it was like, what do I do now? And I remember calling Roy, and Roy said, well, come on, let's go. So when I went up there, I had all the expectations in the world and none. You know, I didn't know how it was going to go, how I was going to do. I didn't care where we roped at. I just knew a national finals was something that I'd always heard of was the best of the best. And, you know, back then we got one go-around on Heston on the last go-around to watch at night, and so I didn't know a lot about it. I didn't know a lot about the finals. I just knew that it was just same guys that I was going to beat all year to beat there.
You did know a lot about Roy Cooper, who you finished, what, $10,000 ahead of. His legend was already made at that point, Joe. Yours was just starting. We all knew the Super Looper. He had made his legend.
He had it on the guys. I mean, he was so tough and so far ahead of everybody and ahead of his time that when I got in there, honestly, it was just like it was assumed he was going to win first every time. And I was rodeoing with him and his brother Clay Tom, you know, and I didn't think there was no reason that I couldn't beat him just because he beat everybody else. And, you know, an old man told me one time, he said, if you don't send that ship out empty, you'll never see that ship come back full. And I think that helped me a lot going into that because I didn't know, you know, I was roping with the legends, the guys that I'd heard about all my life or saw at the jackpots, but all of a sudden I was in the middle of them. But I think being with Roy those first 3 or 4 months, that kind of opened my eyes to a lot of things, a lot of fun and a lot of different lifestyle and a lot of ways that if you win, you know you're a winner. And I knew I was a winner down there, you know, in the amateur level. But once I got to winning, you know, I won the first round. I won the first rodeo I ever went to, Wichita, Kansas. I went with the guy that worked for Roy named Kyle Stewart, and I rode his horse, and I just entered. It was the first one of the year in November, and I remember I was 8-3, and I won the rodeo, and I thought, man, this isn't so hard, you know? And then I went to Kansas City, and I won something in the first round. I'm like, this isn't bad at all. But I can remember going to Denver, Fort Worth, and all those the year. I want to go around everywhere, but I never won anything in the average. I didn't know much about roping for money or smart. I roped everyone to win. Well, it kind of hurt me during the year because I think, honestly, I only placed at 5 averages that whole year.
I'll be darned.
Until I got to the national finals. Well, then it was big money every night, and that was my game. So I think it kind of hurt me maybe along the year, but it helped me when I got there because, you know, once again, I was too dumb to know anything, but I think it was 8,200 or 7,800 or something a night, and that was way more money than I was used to roping for, so I was just having fun and roping.
It kind of sounds like you're a pressure player, and that mindset has been so important, and it's something that you have preached for so long. And a lot of times we say, who are the phone calls that you make? Who are the people? And a lot of times it's, oh, I called Joe Beaver. But who were your calls back then? And at that time, being that competitive and that talented, were people welcoming of you at that young age and being willing to help you get better even as a kid?
No, it was a different game when I got in. Those guys were tough. You know, there's guys get away with a lot of stuff now. They got slapped back then, you know, I mean, quick. And that was the way it was. And they weren't, you know, when I got in, it was starch, you know, denim shirts, because Roy wore them, or whites, you know, and Ray-Bans, and clean cut, and I had long hair and red, white, and blue sunglasses. And I didn't fit in the norm at all. But I was so confident. And I'd been prepared so well by my amateur level guys. You know, not many people went to 265 amateur rodeos and jackpots when they were a junior in high school. You know, and I did. I mean, I had Stephen Perry, David Nygaard, Tom Walker, those guys. We started on Wednesday or Thursday. We went through Sunday. So I was so mentally strong when I got in. I didn't reach out to a lot of people because, number one, I didn't know who to or trusted them. You know, I would call Barry Burke. Later on, after I got to know Barry really well, that was my go-to guy, Barry Burke. You know, I called my dad on the stage, but my dad was always, he was so level and so, well, it'll be okay, you got to think, you do this, you do that. And Barry, I could call Barry and fly into, you know, DFW and go up there and rope 2 days, and I could win on anything.
So now here we are 40 years later, and you just won the average at the Southeastern Circuit Finals rodeo on the team roping. It looks like you still got it.
I just outlasted him. That's all I did. You know what I mean? I got a really good partner, a kid, Levi Pettigrew. He's really good. And, you know, I've been lucky since I retired out of the, you know, rodeo competition for a living. I've got to go, you know, on the weekends, and I've got to go have fun and go to the circuits and play. And I had McCoy Pro Philly, I had Reno Gonzalez, you know, now I got Levi. They make me look good. And all I'm doing is having fun and hoping I get them better and get the good partners where they can roll on. But, you know, the winning part never leaves you.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to win, you're going to figure out how to win. And the steers were big, and they were old, and they had big horns, and they were strong. It was a different game, and they just felt sorry for me and let me have it.
That is such an incredible thing to hear. And you talking about bringing those kids up, that's my next question. I've talked about what it was like when you were a kid, the guys that weren't necessarily the first phone call, but you became the first phone call for so many people. What do you think that was about you that you decided, you know what, it's time for me to be the person that brings this next generation up?
I think the main thing on that was, you know, along the way, I had some young guys go with me. I had Brady Helms, you know, he just barely missed the finals. I had Brent Lewis when he was a rookie. He went with me and he made the finals. I had Lennon Mangold never made the finals and come live with me, and he made them a couple of times. You know, David Bowen was my age. We were the same, me and Lanham. But then I had Tony Rena, the young guys, you know, and I had Clay Cherney. Clay Cherney, who had the finals, made his rookie year and going with me, and he tore his knee up at Pendleton. So he was out. He didn't make them for another year or two, but he was that good. You know, I think those kids along the way, well, number one, they challenge you. So I figure if they challenge me and I could answer back, now if they need challenge, I can challenge them mentally. You know, I can challenge them mentally and make them as good as they can be. You know, Marty Yates was one of them when he was young. You know, he was so talented, but he needed challenge. You know, I thought he'd get better, and we'd talk and we'd, you know, make, you know, plans and stuff like that. But it's fun to bring the kid along because I was that kid once.
We had a young lady on the show on Wednesday of this week named Megan Lunick.
Oh, yeah.
She just won the breakaway roping at the Indian National Finals Rodeo. She's missing a thumb.
Yep.
And Joe, she basically gave you all the credit for winning that gold, for winning that world
Well,
title.
she doesn't need to do that. But I mean, Megan and I go way back. Megan had unbelievable talent with the big loop in the breakaway roping. And I'm going to go back, Steve. This is, I'm going to say 15 years or more ago now, when breakaway roping wasn't what it is today. So she was on the, you know, back on the curtain behind it a little bit. But then when she cut her thumb off, it kind of set her back. And mentally, she was challenged. Physically, I thought she could handle it, but mentally, it bothered her, you know? So I remember taping my thumb down, you know, because I couldn't figure out what she was talking about. I can't control my swing. And so I'd take my thumb down, rope the dummy, and then I'd pin rope chase some calves around because I had a school coming up in Helena. And she said, I'm coming back. And I said, you don't need to come to school. You rope good. She said, no, I can't figure this out. So I thought, well, you better have a plan when you get to Helena, because you're sitting here being that guy you're talking about. positive. Oh, he's fine. You'll be fine. And really, you're not going to be fine because this is hard.
Yeah.
So I pin roped. And when I got to the school, I had a kind of a plan. And she was all about trying whatever, and then she got to roping really good. Well, then she got busy in the movies, and got some other sideline stuff, side tractor. But when breakaway came back big in the NFR, it's huge at the finals and the rodeo, she got back to roping. And luckily what we had worked on stuck with her. And now she's got a gold buckle, says Indian World Champion. I couldn't be more proud for her.
Before we get done with this, the story of the week right now, EHV-1.
Yeah.
Your thoughts? I mean, we're getting ready to send a whole lot of horses to Las Vegas here in a couple of weeks.
I think too, here we go. This is common sense a lot to me. Take care of your stuff. Keep them away from things. If you're going to, you're going to Vegas, get out there and get to somewhere where you're not around people. Make sure everything's good and your horses are healthy. Because here's the number one thing, and I think people don't. They need to think of this, Kenyon. Number one, I'm not going to take a horse to an event that's sick because I can't win on him. You know what I mean? I can't win on him, and I've got 100,000 in him. I'm not going to dare take a chance of losing him just to try to get 2 more runs out of him. You know what I mean? So I think if people just step back and take a deep breath. My dad used to tell me all the time, hey, when you're in the midst of a cluster, back up and take a breath if you can, and you'll probably survive it. So I think right now we're at that point. Just back up, take a deep breath, pay attention to what your horses look like, what they're doing. Because here's the deal: I don't care how talented you are, you can be the most talented guy in the world, and if you don't have a good horse, you're not gonna win anything the time events or the rough stock. Either way, so I think we're all right. I think people are gonna just take a deep breath, look back, watch their horses, take care of what takes care of them, and that's the equine athlete. Some of my biggest business is roping horses for kids. Yeah. That horse that little 12-year-old wins on is just as important as what Riley Webb is winning gold buckles on to them. So I think everybody's going to get their stuff, pay attention, take care of your stuff, and it's going to be fine.
I agree. I think that's a really good point to make, and that's also kind of looking into your entire career. Take care of your stuff, take care of who takes care of you, and success will follow. Sometimes take a step back. You back in the box, take a breath. I think that's really, really impressive to hear. But Joe, I know you've got a very busy day and a very busy couple of weeks coming up. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And congratulations. I mean, I don't have to tell you that, but congratulations on all of the success.
40 years. Yeah. You don't even know what 40 years is. 40 years is, it's so hard for me. I keep reminding myself, I've been in Vegas every December for 40 years, whether roping or TV. And that's a lucky guy that gets to do that. I've seen it all.
Especially in the house that you built.
That is not Joe Beaver on either the bull or the bucket.
No, but that's my people that year.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Some of the legends, and there's Joe B one more time.
That's what I'm talking about. See, if you don't send that ship out empty, you won't see it come back full. Bill Duvall's back there tying with me, but we wasn't sure that was going to work.
Yeah, well, there you go. Joe Beaver joining us. Backtrax. We're getting ready for the 40th anniversary in Las Vegas of the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo. We're going to take a timeout, and we will be right back as we get ready to take you to the professional bull riders and a brand new point system. We'll tell you about it coming up on Western Sports Roundup.
Western Sports Roundup is brought to you by Rock and Roll Denim. Live boldly. Live in Rock and Roll Denim.
Continues his run in perfection. He is now ridden 4 out of 4 this weekend. And Carolina is looking good.
In the PBR, we've been seeing a lot of exciting things here in 2025, a lot of big moves, a lot of exciting historic moves that have been in the making. And sometimes when you put the best caliber bull riders and bucking bulls in the arena, it gets a little sticky when it comes to judging them. There's a lot of ties we've seen on the best of the best at the top of the leaderboard. But the PBR has decided to do something new as they've implemented a new scoring system getting started at the beginning of their 2026 season. But there's no one better to give you all of the information you need to know than the PBR's very own VP of Competition, Jack Holmberg. Thank you so much for being here, sir.
Okay, thanks for having us.
This is a big deal, and I know it was not necessarily an overnight decision. Talk to us a little bit about what made you all decide to bring in this scoring change.
Yeah, so we didn't want to necessarily reinvent how rides are scored. We just wanted to refine it a little bit. Looking at a bunch of data and analytics over the last couple of years on the elite level and how good the bulls are, we just wanted to kind of find a way to tune in the precision and use the same framework, but just get a little more detailed level that reflects those subtle differences in the efforts put out in the arena.
So basically what is happening, Jack, is you're going to 10th point increments as an option for the judges. And the press release that the PBR sent out, it says some interesting things. 96% of all bull scores above 19 points fall between 20 and 22. And so you're trying to give the judges options of other than 20 and a half, 21, 21 and a half. You know, if the bull's a little bit better than a 21, but not quite a 21 and a half, elaborate on all of that.
Yeah, exactly. And to go deeper, it was not to get nerdy with numbers, but out of those 96%, 81% of those were within just 1 point. So yeah, this will allow those judges to a little greater flexibility from only having 3 buckets to work with to 10 in that scenario. So it'll give them a lot more flexibility to evaluate what they see.
You said that you guys weren't necessarily reinventing the wheel here, but you are giving everyone the best opportunity to be successful. Talk to us about the process of what you guys went through with analyzing rides and the different associations that you look to for some guidance in making this change.
Yeah, so the ABBI, that's one thing. It's not a totally new concept. The ABBI has done it for a while, and we've seen some other bull riding organizations do it, and so we evaluated those events, and then we broke down all the data and we mocked up several events of our own, and we liked the results, and we just feel that this is gonna give fans, riders, coaches, stock contractors, everybody just a more detailed scoring system and things to look for.
So let's talk about how this impacts the rider's score. The judges are looking for, according to the PBR, dominance, exposure, control, and spurring, and can now be reflected with greater nuance as well. So the same thing applies, 10th increments maybe above or below, but there's something about the rider score can only be so much higher than the bull score. Elaborate on all of that.
Right, so we do have a cap on, a judge can only mark a rider 3 points over the bull. And breaking down, again, not to get nerdy with numbers, but breaking down those 16,000 outs, there was only, I think, 6 where a single judge marked somebody more than 3 points. But the idea behind that cap is that it just ensures that our system is still rewarding outstanding riding, but it also maintains that appropriate relationship between the bull quality and what the total score ends up being.
We've talked about the 2026 season being where we are able to see this begin being implemented, getting it kicked off with the Pendleton Whiskey Velocity Tour debut in St. Louis, Missouri. That's on December the 6th, followed by the Unleash the Beast in Manchester on December the 12th. There's a lot of things happening right now between then. How are you going to get your judges and secretaries and everyone involved prepared for this change?
Yeah, so we've been sending out communication for the last couple of weeks. We got mock-ups of what the pad design is going to be, and that's probably going to be the biggest adjustment. Fortunately, a lot of our judges also judge ABBI events, and so they're familiar with the 10th point increments. But we're going to have to train them up on the new pad design and go through some online training to get them feeling comfortable, so that there's no, it'll just be a seamless transition.
When you talk about the pad design, those are the pads the judges punch the scores in that, then they come up on the scoreboard and the announcers and everybody in the audience knows about it. There's one more thing I wanted to ask you about that I thought was kind of interesting. Jack, judges are commonly writing tenths on their score sheets now for internal evaluation. So even though it hasn't been an official part of the scoring system, am I correct in saying that this is something the judges have in some way, shape, or form, at least for their own training abilities or whatever reason, they've already been doing this to a certain extent.
Correct. And yeah, and a lot of them with their ABBI background too, but we definitely, for internal evaluations, they'll write it on the side on the paper sheets, and we use a lot of that to break down the event afterwards. So we have a lot of meetings and a lot of film work we do throughout the week after an event and then leading up to the next weekend. So that's part of it. We want to see where they were kind of placing the bulls, you know.
There's a lot of really exciting things happening, and I certainly appreciate you taking your time and, like you said, getting off into the weeds and the numbers, because that's exactly what this is about. It certainly sounds like big moves being made in the PBR, and it all gets kicked off at the beginning of December. But thank you very much for taking your time to explain this right here on Western Sports Roundup.
Okay, thank you guys.
And coming up on Western Sports Roundup, we're going on the road to the National Finals Rodeo. This year at the Wrangler NFR, among the top 4 barrel racers, 3 of them are world champions with a combined 8 gold buckles. We'll dig a little deeper into that story coming up on Western Sports Roundup. Cowboy Channel's pre-NFR coverage is brought to you by Ariat. Ready, set, ride in boots and jeans that work as hard as you do.
Welcome back into the Cowboy Channel studios, everyone. We're on the road to the National Finals Rodeo. We're just days away. The barrel racers, this has been a fun topic to discuss. And as you were mentioning before, quite a few of our top 15, the top 5 actually have been past world champions, and they're headed back to try to do it again.
Yeah, the top, the number 1 night of the National Finals Rodeo is 2 weeks from today. Oof. So that's the story on the barrel race. Let's talk about 3 world champions in the field. Haley Kinsel, she is the number 2 all-time money winner inside the Thomas & Mack, headed into the NFR, number 4 in the world standings. That's where Cassie Mowry was last year, going into the NFR, by the way. $186,317. Remember, it is really close in the barrel race. Haley is only about $17,000 behind Cassie. You see she won 5 rodeos. Remember that lightning strike in Spanish Fork, a 16:57 on the standard course. Haley Kinsel riding the horse of the year into the NFR sister.
Yes, she is. Now let's talk about Brittany Posey-Tanazi coming in the number 2 position. Talk about a close race for the world title. She's won the world 07, 09, and 2023. She's had about 20 years worth of horsepower that only some of us could ever dream of. And I'm excited to see who she runs down at the alley at the Thomas & Mack, because she's shown that she can do it, and she can do it again.
Well, remember what she did in 2023, $496,499 for the year, winning a world title, setting a record in the process. World Championship 2007, 2009, and 2023. This will be her 18th NFR. So now let's talk about Cassie Mowry, last year's Horse of the Year, Jarvis.
Yes, it has been 20 years since Cassie Mowry went to her first Wrangler National Finals Rodeo. 2005, 2017, 2022 through 2025, and a world title later. It came down to the 10th round last year, but Cassie won 5 consecutive go-rounds at the NFR. So when you think about that, exactly what we're going to be seeing this year, it's going to be a horse race. It's going to get fast, and it's going to be exciting. Cassie is
$9,000 ahead of Brittany and $17,000 ahead of Haley. That's how close it is. She's only $72,000 ahead of number 15, Caitlin Scott. But Cassie Mowry only went to 28 rodeos this year. So once again, she kept the rodeo count down. She did it on more than one horse. Cassie Mowry comes in trying to become a repeat world champion. And that little circle of world titleists, boy, you got to keep an eye on all 3 of them, along with the other 12 first-timers in that field heading into the barrel race at the NFR.
It's plenty exciting to watch, and you guys had the opportunity to zero in on exactly what you guys have coming in the barrel racing in the NFR field. We're going to zero in next on Western Sports Roundup.
If there's any barrel racer that can handle it, it is Cassie Mowry. She's around that first barrel. She gets Jarvis moved over. She's going in there making sure that she has a clean run, and that barrel wobbled, and it is up. Cassie Mowry just did it. This horse, they made a picture-perfect run. They made a perfect first barrel. Going into that second, they are close. I think this is going to be even faster than last night. Grab that third. Wow, Cassie Mowry is on a roll. That she runs him. Wow, they were really close on that first, but it was beautiful. Great second. We're going to make the same run again.
on Zero In, presented by Cinch. Steve Canyon, I know few rodeo fans will forget the world title race that we saw last year in the barrel racing between Haley Kinsel and Cassie Mowry, going back and forth over 10 rounds of competition against all odds. And Cassie Mowry has set herself up to do it again.
You know, what I will always remember about last year's NFR, the single loudest moments from the audience, 17,000 plus at the Thomas and Mack every night, were when Haley and Cassie rode into the arena. Every single night. Because remember how it started, and remember how it went, and remember the back and forth. It really was a battle.
It was so exciting to watch there. And we're going to recap some of Cassie's season from 2024, looking at those impressive numbers. Cassie Mowry is so exciting. She battled her way through in 2024, did it again in 2025 at the fewest rodeos of all of the barrel racers in the top 15. 28 rodeos was all she went to in 2025. Once again, Cassie Mowry is a specialist at doing exactly that. But let's look at how these numbers broke down. Amongst those 28 rodeos, if you averaged out how much money she won per rodeo, you're looking at $7,535 per rodeo. That was number one amongst all barrel racers. 44 less rodeos than number 2, Brittany Posey Tanazi. And we're going to have a little fun here, Steve, for a second. A reminder to everyone watching at home, this is not reality. But when we look at the numbers here, if Cassie Mowry were to go to as many rodeos as Brittany Posey Tanazi, that's 72 rodeos throughout the season. If you multiplied that by the average of what she made per rodeo, Cassie could have won $542,000. Emily Beisel was right behind at 69 rodeos for the season. That would be $520,000 for Cassie Mowry. Now, we know this isn't reality. We know if she went to more rodeos, that average per rodeo would go down. But honestly, knowing Cassie Mowry, it probably wouldn't have gone down a whole lot.
Well, for entertainment purposes only, obviously. Remember that Cassie is one of the most accomplished horse trainers, maybe the most accomplished barrel horse trainer ever. And she has won millions of dollars outside the rodeo arena. She still won a bunch of money. She just didn't win it all at rodeos. 28 rodeos. That is the total she went to. By comparison, Anita Ellis went to the second fewest number of rodeos, 44. Haley Kinsel went to 55. Everybody else went to 60 or more.
And that's exactly what we saw last year. She went to so few rodeos, went into the National Finals rodeo in the number 4 spot, battled back and forth with Haley Kinsel, but it started out on a little bit of a down note because Cassie knocked a barrel in round number 1, and Haley Kinsel, she pushed her way to the top very early on.
Yeah, Cassie hit a barrel on the very first run, the very first barrel on her very first run, and that opened the door for Haley. And here came Haley and sister, turning in the 3 fastest times of the first 3 go-rounds. This is why it got to be so electric night after night during the barrel race. Haley comes out. She wins round 1. She follows that up with a win in round 2. She follows that up with a win in round 3. And we're all thinking she's on her way to her 5th world title.
Yeah, but don't forget Cassie Mowry, throughout all of that, she was picking her way through the go-rounds. After that first barrel that she knocked, she picked up some big paychecks behind Haley Kinsel and then decided number 1 sounded a little bit better next to her name. And for the next 5 go-rounds, Cassie Mowry would walk away as the fastest barrel racer, winning round after round after round until round 9, Steve.
Yeah, until round 9. And then guess who came back and go round number 9? That would be Haley Kinsel, who came back and won the go round again. Cassie Mowry, another barrel knockdown in the 9th go round. So the door is now open for Haley and sister to walk away as the world champions. The door is now open for an epic 10th round battle between Haley and Cassie to see who would be the world champion. That's what, round 9 frequently sets up round number 10, and that is exactly what happened last year in the barrel race.
Yeah, there's a reason we call it Freaky Friday on round 9. That is the witching hour round, but it did set up, as you said, Steve, one of the most epic head-to-head battles in the barrel racing. It came down to a horse race in round 10 between Cassie Mowry and Jarvis, Haley Kinsel and sister. The fastest was going to win, but Haley, she had some tough news as we headed into round 10.
Yeah, she had some very tough news in go round number 10, which is she would be on a Palomino, but it would not be sister. Sister had an injury issue. Haley decided to give her the night off. She stepped on J-Lo. J-Lo's a former horse of the year, so there's nothing wrong with J-Lo, but J-Lo's not sister. And it may have given Cassie that little bit of an edge that she needed on Jarvis to win that 10th go-around and walk away as a world champion.
So the question is, does she walk away with back-to-back championships? Well, she's set herself up to do exactly that. But don't forget, Steve, amongst the field of top 15 competitors, we have 3 returning world champions.
One correction, she did not win the 10th go-round. That was the only round that either she or Haley did not win at the NFR. But look at this, every world champion but one since 2018. Haley Kinsel, 4 between 2018 and 2022. Brittany Posey-Tanazi, 2023. Cassie last year. And all 3 of them are in the top 5 in the world standings coming into this NFR.
It is truly going to be a battle at this year's National Finals Rodeo. We can't forget Emily Beisel. She's done about everything but win a world title, so it could be her year as well. She's got a myriad of horses that she's going to be bringing with her to the National Finals Rodeo. So could Cassie just walk off with a win? I don't think so, because the competition is just that tough. Even though Cassie is so dominant, only competing at 28 rodeos throughout the season, Steve, I think it's way, way, way too close to call this year.
There's an old adage in sports, if you want to be the champ, you got to beat the champ. Well, if you want to be the champ and you're one of those 12 that doesn't have a gold buckle yet, you've got to beat 3 world champions to get that title. Cassie Mowry comes in with a very small lead, but only 28 rodeos that she attended during the course of the year. So I'm not going to try to pick, but I do know this. Somebody's going to have to beat a world champion to become a world champion.
Those are our friends on Zero In. We've got Steve and Katie. Every Tuesday is when we get to zero in on things. But during the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo, every single day we will zero in, bring you all of the details that you need to know of everything coming up round by round, exciting things after exciting things. But next on Western Sports Roundup, we're not done yet. We're going to wrap it all up. Our Veterson top 3 stories of the day. You're watching Western Sports Roundup. It's time for our Veterson top 3 stories of the day. Clean, treat, heal. With everything going on with the EHV-1, the Kimes $1 Million Breakaway has been rescheduled, and Rising Stars events to a little later on in December 15th through the 21st, as scheduled 2025, right there in Arizona.
This year marks the 40th anniversary of the move of the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo to Las Vegas. Joe Beaver joined us, remembering 40 years ago when he was both the world champion and the Resistol Rookie of the Year. Professional bull riders making changes to their judging system, going to a 1/10 of a point opportunity for the judges to add both to the bull score and the ride score. The details are on the PBR's website.
And as this is a developing story, the National Reining Horse Association has shared, after continued consultation with the state of veterinarians of Oklahoma and Texas in a careful review of the evolving equine herpes virus situation, they went on to say NRHA will delay the start of the NRHA fraternity with move to begin November 17th. This will comply with scientific guidelines for the reducing the risk of EHV. That is a 1-week delay for the NRHA.
And we'll be talking more about all of that, of course, tomorrow on Western Sports Roundup, as we continue to watch all of the developments with the EHV-1 issues around the country. So it has been a full day. We have had a lot to share, and we hope you've enjoyed the show. For Elise Sutherland, I'm Steve Kenyon. As you look at the beautiful city of Fort Worth, Texas, God bless everybody. This is Western Sports Roundup.